Chapter 1866. Zhang Liang also had no choice. Some things could be admitted but some things could never be admitted. Zifang. Lu sighed. When he saw Zhang Liang's expression that it had nothing to do with him, he knew that he was faking it. He knew senior brother Fu Nian's temperament too well. Without absolute certainty, Fu Nian would never speak. This kid still won't admit it? Seeing this, Dustless looked at Zhang Liang in surprise and secretly laughed in his heart. Idiot, everyone knows what you're thinking. Why do you have to pretend that you don't know and continue hiding? Rumor? What a good rumor. Fu Nian was so angry that he laughed. If Zhang Liang was willing to take the initiative to admit his mistake, he wouldn't be angry. After all, they were senior brothers, but Fu Nian hated people who pretended to be confused. This was obviously looking down on other people's IQ. Wind from an empty cave may not be without reason. Do you think I don't know your identity and background? Fu Nian snorted and angrily rebuked. You and Wei Zhuang have a subtle relationship. Your family has been the Prime Minister of Korea for 5 generations, and Wei Zhuang is a Korean noble. How dare you say you don't know each other? Hearing this, Zhang Liang frowned slightly and continued to quibble. Even if I know each other, so what? There is no evidence. I can't accept it if I collude with him in private. It doesn't matter if you accept it or not. Fu Nian shook his head and glanced at Zhang Liang. A straightforward person doesn't resort to insinuations. Zifang, I understand your inner thoughts, but I must tell you that I am the head of the Confucian school, not the gravedigger of the Confucian school. So the marriage alliance between Zi Chen and the Yinyang school is already a done deal. Don't mention it again in the future. When it came to the marriage alliance, Fu Nian looked determined. Zhang Liang's face changed when he heard this. He couldn't help but rebuke. Senior brother, why are you helping the evildoer? The Qin state is insensitive. Ying Zhang harmed the world to satisfy his own selfish desires. Confucianism can't ask a tiger for its skin. What a joke. At this moment, Fu Nian laughed contemptuously and said sarcastically, colluding with the Qin state is helping the evildoer. Isn't colluding with Wei Zhuang's Lu Sha to lead the wolf into the house? Hearing this, the corners of Zhang Liang's mouth twitched, and he expressed his opinion again. Fu Nian didn't show any weakness and fought back with words. Neither of them would easily admit defeat. Buzz buzz buzz. Like flies, the two of them spat at each other for more than 10 minutes before they finally stopped. Zichen, you tell Zifang what he did wrong. After a while, Fu Nian saw Dustless's comfortable appearance as if everything had nothing to do with him. Fu Nian decisively pulled Dustless into the water. That's none of my business. Hearing this, Dustless rolled his eyes. He could only bite the bullet and say, Ying Zheng rules the country by law. Although the law is harsh, it is not without its benefits. Upon hearing this, Zhang Liang was stunned for a moment. Then, he moved closer to Dustless's ear and said in a tone that only the two of them could hear. You once said that you were neutral. Why are you siding with Ying Zheng now? You worry too much. Dustless gave Zhang Liang a comforting look and said in a weak voice, I'm just leaning with Qin state in my thinking. My fist is still neutral. Quibble. You're really shameless. Glancing at Dustless, Zhang Liang turned his head with great disgust. Think whatever you want. I'm just expressing my personal opinion. Freedom of speech is innocent. Wu Chen smiled carelessly and explained, the criminal law of the Qin state is very strict and has been criticized. This is also one of the fundamental reasons why the whole world is against the Qin state. But in fact, in my opinion, this is not a big mistake. Not wrong. Fu Nian was stunned for a moment before asking, Zichen, tell me your opinion. Zifang, listen to me clearly. Zichen was brought into Confucianism by you. Human nature is greedy. This is a natural habit that is difficult to change. If you don't impose restrictions, the evil shadow created is extremely fatal. Human nature must be controlled. Although Qin state's law is the most rigorous and harsh, it also restrains the greedy nature of human beings in a certain sense. It's ridiculous to be criticized as nothing by the 100 schools of thought. Dustless continued, what's more, looking at the countless years of history, from the birth of the first feudal dynasty, Xia dynasty until now, there have been countless outstanding emperors. But which one of them didn't make mistakes? In contrast, Ing Zheng has done a really good job. Let me ask you, how can a man not make mistakes? Yes, you're right. Fu Nian nodded and laughed in agreement. He gave Dustless a rare look of appreciation. These words really touched his heart. No man is perfect. Although Ing Zheng was the first emperor in history, he was not a god. All human beings made mistakes. Moreover, Ing Zheng's achievements were well known. He unified the 6 states and ended the era of division. Even if he was wrong, was it really necessary to hold on to other people's weaknesses every day? Overall, Ing Zheng's achievements were greater than his mistakes. He was many times better than Xia Jie, King Zhou, King Yu of Zhou, and other absurd monarchs. Zifeng, what else do you have to say? Glancing at the silent Zhang Liang, Fu Nian said in an extremely cold tone, "From now on, you are no longer the third master of Confucianism." Fu Nian suddenly said something shocking. His words stunned Yen Lu, Zhang Liang, and Dustless. Then, Fu Nian's gaze fell on Dustless's head. His words made everyone's eyes drop. Zichen, although you are young and illiterate, your knowledge is broad. In the future, you will be the third master of Confucianism. Chapter 1867. Zichen, although you're young and illiterate, you're quite knowledgeable. In the future, you'll be the third master of Confucianism. When he heard this, Dustless felt like his brain wasn't enough to process it. Perhaps Fu Nian was joking with him. The atmosphere was silent for a while. None of the 4 spoke, but Dustless kept staring at Fu Nian. Finally, after a few seconds, he saw that Fu Nian still had a serious expression on his face. He finally confirmed that this guy was serious and definitely not joking. Fu Nian abolished Zhang Liang's position as the third master of Confucianism and promoted Dustless. The affairs of the world are truly unpredictable. Back then, it was Zhang Liang who brought me into Confucianism. Now, my luck has changed and I've successfully counterattacked. Zhang Liang actually became my stepping stone. Zhang Liang looked at him in disbelief. Not to mention him, even Dustless thought that it was an illusion. From the time he entered Confucianism until today, Dustless had only joined Confucianism for a little more than a rainy day. However, the speed of his promotion made everyone blush with shame. Especially now that he had taken Zhang Liang's position as the third master of Confucianism. From Fu Nian's resolute tone and resolute eyes, it could be seen that this wasn't an impulsive decision. Senior brother, Zichen is still young. You can't. As Zhang Liang's good friend, Yen Lu immediately began to support Zhang Liang. Zifeng is in the wrong, but he shouldn't. Enough, second junior brother. With a wave of his hand, Fu Nian stopped Yen Lu from continuing. We are disciples of Confucianism, so we should think for Confucianism. From the moment we joined Confucianism, we were no longer people of the 7 nations. The country doesn't matter to us anymore. Since Zifeng can't see through the past and wants to recover Korea, we can only temporarily take back your position as the third master of Confucianism. It won't be too late to return it to you when you repent. After glancing at Zhang Liang, Fu Nian finally left in a huff. In fact, Fu Nian was forced to do this. He still cared about this junior brother of his. However, the differences between the two were too great. Fu Nian wanted to form an alliance with the Yin-Yang school. In the future, the status of Confucianism would inevitably rise. With the power of Qin, it was only a matter of time before Confucianism flourished. Zhang Liang, on the other hand, wanted to overthrow Qin and recover Korea, which was 1,000 miles away from Fu Nian's plan. In the end, he could only strip Zhang Liang of his identity. This H*T stirrer. He's getting his retribution. Wu Chen snickered in his heart as he stared at the absent-minded Zhang Liang. His eyes narrowed into a line, and then he patted Zhang Liang's shoulder before leaving with Fu Nian. Zifeng, you don't have to be sad. I'm just a little angry. When the weather is better, I'll plead for you. Looking at Fu Nian and Wu Chen leaving, Yen Lu said encouragingly, Don't worry, I'll always be on your side. But it's useless. Hearing this, Zhang Liang could only smile bitterly and sigh in disappointment. I know eldest senior brother's character. He wants to bring Confucianism to greater heights and become the leader of the 100 schools of thought. I can empathize with his thoughts, but neither the Qin kingdom nor the school of Yin-Yang are the best choices. Why don't we ask Uncle Master Sun for help? Yan Lu's eyes lit up. Uncle Master Sun? Zhang Liang's spirit was lifted. Then, he remembered the special relationship between Dustless and Sun Zi. He shook his head and denied. That's even more impossible. Zichen gave his Yellowstone Heavenly Book to Uncle Master Sun to study. Uncle Master Sun will definitely stand on Zichen's side. And don't forget, Uncle Master Sun was the one who proposed the idea that human nature is evil. How can he overthrow his own theory now? Also, second senior brother, you've forgotten one thing. Uncle Master Sun cultivates both Confucianism and legalism. In history, Sun Zi cultivated both Confucianism and legalism. The current world was no exception. His disciples, Li Si and Han Fei, were the same. As expected, I've let a wolf into my house. How ironic. Looking at Dustless's gradually disappearing back, Zhang Liang looked up at the sky and realized that he had lost everything. The person who brought Dustless into Confucianism was himself, and the person who took away his status today was Dustless. TSKSK, the third master of Confucianism? It doesn't seem bad. There are no unnecessary trivial matters to deal with, and there's also an extraordinary identity. It's barely acceptable. Dustless followed behind Fu Yan and did not dislike this identity. The third master of Confucianism did not have any real power and was happy to be at ease. However, in terms of status and identity, it was higher than ordinary Confucian disciples. However, this guy is really cunning. Looking at Fu Yan's deep expression, Dustless smiled but did not say anything. Crippling Zhang Liang was not an impulsive and ignorant act. Fu Yan probably decided to give Dustless the identity of one of the three great families of Confucianism after some contemplation. Dustless was just an ordinary disciple in Confucianism. Other than being powerful, his identity was very ordinary. However, young Master Ming was an elder of the Yin-Yang school. Her identity was not suitable, and it was inevitable that people would gossip. By giving Dustless the identity of the third master, he would also speak up for Confucianism in front of the Yin-Yang school in the future. After thinking for a while, Fu Yan gave the identity of the third master to Dustless. Fu Yan, huh? To be able to become the head of the Confucian school. He is indeed a far-sighted person. Dustless sighed with emotion for a while and then continued to follow Fu Yan. Although it was only a temporary marriage alliance, both sides had tacitly chosen an auspicious date. The most ridiculous thing was that in the next few days, Confucianism and the Yin-Yang school would arrange for Dustless and young Master Ming to marry, and then, the wedding night. This also meant that the two families had completely embarked on the path of an alliance. Chapter 1868. Zhang Liang was definitely the most pitiful person in this matter. Not only was he stripped of his status as one of the three great families, but the most tragic thing was that the person who replaced him as the third head was the rising star Dustless. The chances of him taking back his status and position was probably zero. Of course, if Zhang Liang was willing to repent and change, Fu Yan might return his status to him. However, Zhang Liang, the third head, would definitely become the fourth head. One day later in the evening, the stars dotted the sky and the moonlight shone like a plate. The Mulberry Sea was close to the sea, and the scenery at night was pleasant. However, the streets were empty. Not even a ghost appeared, let alone a person. Above the void, there was a large number of mechanical bats flying, monitoring the entire Mulberry Sea. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, a black shadow silently flashed by. Because it was so fast, only a faint sound could be heard. Even the shadow could not be seen clearly. It was as fast as lightning. Phew! After staying in the Little Sage Manor for so long, there is indeed something wrong with my head. The fresh air outside is still more suitable for me. A frivolous voice suddenly sounded. Looking closely, that unbelievably fast black shadow was actually Dustless, who had sneaked out for a walk at night. However, Dustless did not come out alone, but had a date with a beauty. You are as fast as always. On top of a tree, a beautiful figure stood steadily on the green leaves. Under the hazy moonlight, her slender and straight purple hair danced in the wind. That cold figure was easy to see. Looking up, it was the Yin-Yang school's young Master Ming. Why did you call me out? Staring at the cold and aloof young Master Ming, Dustless asked in surprise. The person who had asked him out tonight was the Yin-Yang school's young Master Ming. As for why she was entangled, Dustless did not understand. Since he was bored in the little sage manor, he might as well sneak out. Of course there is. Don't forget, we will be getting married in a few days. It is necessary to get to know you. Young Master Ming said in a matter-of-fact tone. Really, she is different from the young Master Ming in my impression. Dustless let out a long sigh. Before he crossed over to this world, Xiaofan Ming was a quiet girl in his eyes. But now, it seemed that this was not the case. She was quite honest. Of course, it was understandable that Dustless was a special case. Facing other people, young Master Ming remained silent. Speaking of which, if one day you suddenly discover that your fiancé, that is me, had suddenly become the enemy of your Yinyang school, what would you do? Wu Chen changed the topic and asked expectantly. The man who was about to marry Xiaofan Ming was Zichen, Dustless in disguise. It would only be a matter of time before he was exposed. By then, Dustless and young Master Ming would become enemies again. Why ask such a question? Frowning her shapely eyebrows, Xiaofan Ming looked at Wu Chen and gave an unexpected answer. Actually, it's not important. The key is your attitude. Attitude? Hearing this, Dustless felt strange. He asked, "What do you mean?" If you are willing to be loyal to the Yinyang school and have no second thoughts, you can naturally turn hostility into friendship. But if you insist on going against the current, you will definitely be crushed. Xiaofan Ming told him the truth. It is indeed the style of the Yinyang school. Dustless smiled. But in his heart, he did not agree. Want him to be loyal to the Yinyang school? That was impossible. It was more likely that the Yinyang school would submit to Dustless. But it was undeniable that the Yinyang school was a decent sect. They were quite open-minded and willing to take in an enemy. Dong Huangtai's attitude were indeed extraordinary. Normally, people would torture their captives to obtain useful information. Shoo shoo shoo. Right at this moment, an unusual weak ripple appeared in the air. Dustless also clearly felt an unusual bone-piercing coldness. Countless beams of cold light came from afar. They seemed to be some kind of sharp weapon like darts. However, what was strange was that those darts ignored Dustless, who was close to them, and went straight for young Master Ming, who was even further away. Sneak attack. Squinting his eyes, Dustless saw a few figures appear in the air. The first person that came to his mind was Zhang Liang, who was very concerned about this matter. The Confucian school and the Yinyang school working together was the most harmful to him. It was normal for this kid to want to kill Xiaofan Ming. It doesn't seem to be Zhang Liang. Looking over, Dustless frowned and found that they were all unfamiliar faces. He thought it was Wei Zhuang's Lu Sha. Who would have thought that they were just passers-by? Shoo shoo shoo. Facing the incoming sharp weapon, young Master Ming calmly and gracefully tiptoed against the ground, easily dodging the incoming dark silhouette. Buzz buzz buzz. Not only that, Xiaofan Ming immediately launched a counterattack. Countless green leaves came from all directions and condensed into a long green leaf whip according to Xiaofan Ming's will. Xiaofan Ming, don't kill these assassins. They still have some use. I want to see who is so daring to sneak attack us in the middle of the night. With a sinister smile, Wu Chen's left eye suddenly turned into a dark purple reincarnation Sharingan. 9 dark and mysterious Magatama hung above the eye socket. It looked very strange and neither fish nor fowl. Are you ordering me? Young Master Ming glanced at Wu Chen discontentedly, then snorted as if she didn't like it. However, the power in her hand was reduced, and the number of green leaves under her control was also reduced. Her power had decreased drastically. Chapter 1869. Wu Chen didn't say anything. He quietly looked at the attacking shadows. These assassins seemed to be skilled in their methods. Their cooperation was just right. Originally, everyone's strength was ordinary. However, after several of them cooperated with each other, the strength they displayed was amazing. Although it wasn't as exaggerated as the 6 sword slaves, it was enough to match an ordinary expert. Wu Chen stood still like a statue. This kind of thing could be left to young Master Ming. There was no need for him to get involved. He just needed to watch silently. If they aren't assassins sent by Zhang Liang, then who could it be? Dustless lowered his head and thought. Looking at the eyes of these assassins, his heart was slightly moved. Most of them looked ferocious, and their eyes were filled with determination and madness. These people seemed to be professional death warriors. The Mahist family deeply believes in the way of chivalry. The Mahist family wouldn't do something like training death warriors. Dustless rubbed his chin as he thought. His eyes were shining brightly. After spending some time with the Mahist family, he knew what kind of people they were. The Mahist family and the Confucian family were two of the most prominent schools in the world. The disciples of the Mahist family who were proficient in martial arts were called Mahist heroes. They followed the principle of love with impartiality, non-aggression, and were good at the construction of mechanisms. The disciples of the Mahist family were chivalrous and often used the Mahist family's secret techniques to defend the cities of other countries. They were the epitome of chivalry. Therefore, the chances of training these death warriors were very slim. Compared to them, Dustless squinted his eyes and guessed, these death warriors are like killing machines. They seem to be members of Zhao Gao's trap. Bang! An assassin was sent flying by Xiao Ximing's whip and landed beside Dustless's feet, spitting out blood. Yo, can you tell me who sent you? Seeing the assassin land beside his feet, Dustless greeted him with a smile. This idiot. Seeing this, the corners of Xiao Ximing's mouth twitched under the veil. You think he will tell you just because you asked him to? Do you think these assassins are children? Just because you gave them a piece of candy, they would run around in circles. Every one of them has a deadly poison in their teeth. If they fail the mission, they will drink the poison and commit suicide. The chances of capturing them alive are 0. If you want to ask them, hurry up. A faint energy ripple appeared around them, and Xiao Ximing slowly descended from the sky. Not bad. The death warrior who landed beside Dustless's feet laughed sinisterly. His face was purple. Obviously, he was poisoned. But, the only pity, I didn't drag you two to hell. You, Xiao Ximing, Xiao Ximing, Xiao Ximing's, Xiao Ximing, Xiao Ximing, Xiao Ximing. Seeing that this person was so stubborn, Wuchen didn't bother to talk nonsense. He grabbed his head with his right hand and activated Rinnegan's eye power and began to extract his memory. What Xiao Xiti? Seeing the evil Sharingan in Dustless's left eye, Xiao Ximing's body trembled unnaturally. She subconsciously looked away with a pale face. She felt uneasy when she looked into those mysterious eyes. Her heart felt like it was going to jump out of her chest. The hair all over her body stood on end as if she had met her mortal enemy. Keske. It is indeed that sinister Zhao Gao and Li Si. The ability of these two to collude with each other is indeed extraordinary. After a long while, Dustless softly muttered as he revealed the mastermind behind the scene. Zhao Gao and Li Si? Aren't they on our side? Xiao Ximing slightly raised her eyebrows, opened her cherry lips, looked at Dustless suspiciously and asked, Did you make a mistake? The Yin-Yang school is an ally of the state of Qin. Allies? It was too comical. There were no absolute allies in this world. Only those who can benefit from each other can be regarded as true allies. The Yin-Yang school and the Qin state can only be regarded as using each other. Moreover, Zhao Gao and Li Si are extremely treacherous. The people they scam are their allies. Dustless said frankly. Zhao Gao and Li Si were both famous treacherous officials. Didn't Fu Su die because of them? It was undeniable that Zhao Gao was a treacherous official, but Li Si was a person with mixed reputation. This person did have extraordinary ability. Being able to become the Prime Minister of the state of Qin showed that Li Si was extraordinary. But as the saying goes, no one is perfect. Li Si also had his own goals and selfishness. Therefore in the end, he and Zhao Gao caused the death of Fu Su and Meng Tian. Zhang Liang is an ally of the Mo family, right? But when the Mo family was in the mechanical city, he did nothing as he watched the Mo family's disciples get slaughtered by Wei Zhuang. Is this what an ally is? Dustless's words made Xiao Ximing speechless. She could only look at the former in a daze. In short, allies are used to scam and betray. What you said seems to make some sense. After a moment of silence, Xiao Ximing nodded as if she understood. In fact, she was not good at scheming. She was more concerned about her own strength. Zhao Gao and Li Si really put in a lot of effort to destroy the alliance between the Yin-Yang school and the Confucian school. But, this is normal. although their actions are too stupid and are no different from seeking death. Since the heavens let them live in this world, they have the right to struggle. The weak are innocent. But if he wants to recklessly challenge someone stronger than him, then he's courting death. Dustless's eyes surged with red light. He turned into a wild beast that chose people to devour. Xiao Ming's chest tightened several times. Strange. Suddenly, Xiao Ming thought of something. She stared at Dustless's left eye a few times and muttered to herself, "This guy's eye. I think I heard that someone from the Yinyang school had seen it before." Chapter 1870. It was no wonder that Xiao Ming felt a sense of déjà vu. When Dustless beat up Xing Hun, he had used the Sharingan, and Xing Hun had reminded the school of Yinyang about it. However, there had been too many things recently, especially the fact that she was about to marry Zi Chen of the Confucian school. Xiao Ming's heart was in a mess, so she didn't remember it. Pointing at the assassin whose head Dustless had grabbed, Xiao Ming asked calmly, "You can search other people's memories?" "That's right." Wu Chen nodded calmly and told him bluntly, "After I extract his memory, he will completely die. The consequence of his soul being damaged is quite serious. If he is lucky, he will become an idiot. If he is unlucky, he will go to hell to report." "I see." Hearing this, Xiao Ming nodded slightly. She couldn't help but stare at Wu Chen in astonishment. She truly felt that this Confucian disciple was too strange. Almost everything he knew was heterodox and unorthodox, but he didn't know anything about the Confucian school's literary attainments. "I heard that you became the third head of the Confucian school of Yinyang?" Xiao Ming suddenly asked with a hint of concern in her voice. "Don't be fooled by the Confucian school of Yinyang. The Mahists are all traitors, and the Confucians are not good people either." "I should be the one saying that to you." Dustless rolled his eyes. Compared to the Mahists and Confucians, the school of Yinyang was just as strange. He should be wary of Xiao Ming. Of course, Xiao Ming's words made sense. The school of Yinyang and the school of Yinyang both had their own ambitions. They just had different standpoints. Dustless didn't care who was right and who was wrong. "Speaking of which, what memories did you see?" Seeing the faint smile on Dustless's face, Xiao Ming couldn't help but ask curiously, "Could it be Zhao Gao and Li Si's big secret?" "Something like that." Dustless nodded and sneered, "They just want to kill one of us and force the school of Yinyang and the school of Yinyang to turn against each other." Li Si and Zhang Liang's goal was similar to Zhang Liang's. "Are you mistaken? This kind of thing doesn't benefit them." Young Ming couldn't figure it out no matter how hard she thought about it. This kind of thankless task didn't seem to benefit Zhao Gao at all. "It's right that you don't understand. It has something to do with the power disputes within the Qin kingdom." Dustless paused for a moment. After sorting out his thoughts, he said, "The school of Yinyang and the Confucian school have a good impression of young Master Fu Su. In the future battle for the throne of the empire, Li Si and Zhao Gao are afraid that we will side with young Master Fu Su. If both the school of Yinyang and the Confucian school supported Fu Su, then there was no need for the others to fight for the throne." Fu Su was already appreciated by Ying Zheng, and if he had the support of the school of Yinyang and the Confucian school as well, then the others would be finished. However, Zhao Gao and Li Si had another candidate in mind. Hu Hai. "It's normal for you to be confused if you don't understand." Voidless looked at the confused young Master Ming. She probably didn't understand what he was saying at all. "Are you looking down on me again?" Hearing this, a faint look of anger appeared on Xiao Ming's calm face. She seemed to be very dissatisfied with Dustless's attitude. His casual and frivolous tone clearly showed that he was looking down on her. "Again? When did I look down on you? And why did you use the word again? It makes it sound like I've looked down on you many times." Dustless smiled embarrassedly and changed the topic. "Anyway, Li Si won't let the Confucian school and the school of Yinyang form an alliance. After the two schools form an alliance, their strength will be too strong, and it will threaten Li Si and Zhao Gao's position. You have to be careful in the future." "You're looking down on me again," Xiao Ming pouted, looking very dissatisfied with Dustless. "It's because you don't think I'm strong enough that you told me to be careful. If this isn't looking down on me, then what is? Don't try to deny it." "This girl. I thought she didn't like to talk?" She's quite eloquent. Wu Chen couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Xiao Ming's words made him speechless. Frankly speaking, young Master Ming's current performance was completely different from what he had expected. There was a huge difference. That's not bad. It's better than being a mute who never talks. Looking at Xiao Ming's delicate face, Dustless smiled and felt relieved. He asked, "Why are you looking for me in the middle of the night? Don't tell me you're just here to chat. Lord Donghuang invites you to the Mirage for a chat." Looking at Dustless, Xiao Ming said, "It's getting late. Come with me." "I knew you're not here for a date." Dustless hummed and looked very unhappy. He asked impatiently, "That Donghuang Tai? It's Lord Donghuang." Before Dustless could finish his nonsense, Xiao Ming interrupted him and said seriously, "Calling Donghuang by his name has serious consequences. It's disrespectful. It's none of my business. I'm not a disciple of the school of Yin Yang." Dustless didn't care. No matter how mysterious and powerful Donghuang Tai was, he was just an ordinary person. Was there a need to respect him like a god? Besides, God knows how many gods have died in my hands, let alone Donghuang Tai. Dustless snorted in his mind. He didn't care about Donghuang Tai at all. Instead, he felt that Xiao Ming and the others had been brainwashed. Why is the leader of the school of Yin Yang looking for me? Following Xiao Ming, Dustless asked out of boredom, "Are you trying to persuade me to join the school of Yin Yang?" "There's no need to do that," Xiao Ming replied indifferently. She glanced at Dustless and said, "You should know that after you and I get married, you'll be half a member of the school of Yin Yang. Ancient women are so obedient. The 3 obedience and 4 virtues are so good." Dustless murmured to himself. The school of Yin Yang simply ordered Xiao Ming and Dustless to get married. She didn't resist at all and accepted everything. If it was in his previous era, it would be unimaginable. Chapter 1871. Come to think of it, Donghuang Tai is on the Mirage. Dustless looked up at the sky. Even with the black night sky, he could still see the horizon clearly. The giant ship docked on the sea was especially clear in his eyes. "What's the matter?" Dustless looked at young Master Ming with a confused expression. To be honest, he didn't know Donghuang Tai, the most mysterious being in the world. Dustless knew very little about him. But from young Master Ming's tone, it wasn't hard to tell that Donghuang Tai was looking forward to meeting Dustless. "Aren't you afraid that I'll harm you?" After walking for a few minutes, young Master Ming suddenly turned around and looked at Dustless, who was deep in thought, and said coldly, "Maybe this is a trap. Everyone on the Mirage is from the school of Yin Yang." "So what?" Hearing this, Wu Chen just replied with a flat question as if nothing had happened, and his light tone was completely filled with confidence and calmness that caused others to admire him. The school of Yin Yang had 5 elders, 2 guardians, and the mysterious Donghuang Tai. This magnificent lineup was enough to make all the other sects pale in comparison. Even an expert like Gunia would die if he was surrounded by these experts. But Dustless wasn't afraid. "Actually, I want to take a look at the Mirage too." Dustless's eyes turned slightly as he made a plan in his mind. "I can use this opportunity to sneak into the Mirage and take Shilan's brother away from Yun Zhongjuan. Shilan was poisoned last time because she went into the Mirage alone. I can use this opportunity to take Shilan's brother away." "You're quite brave." Young Master Ming turned around and smiled faintly. She continued to lead Dustless forward. No one wanted the person they were about to marry to be an incompetent idiot who was afraid of everything. Dustless's fearless spirit might seem brainless, but young Master Ming admired it. He was much better than those men who were afraid in the face of a big problem. Instead of calling the Mirage a ship, it was more appropriate to call it a floating city on the sea. Its unprecedented size filled up the entire eyeball, and one couldn't even see the end of it. It was simply too big. At this moment, on the Mirage, Dustless looked at the unprecedented giant ship in shock. His eyes were a little dazed. The Mirage built by the Gongshu family's mechanism art combined with the Yin Yang school's mechanism art is indeed beyond imagination. At first glance, what came into Wu Qi's eyes were countless pavilions, terraces, and pagodas. Perhaps, they were built by Ying Zhang as a palace on the ocean, and the formation was extremely exaggerated. Dustless snuck into the mirage alone to discuss with Great Sea Ming and Moon God. He didn't pay much attention to the surroundings, but now that he had young Sea Ming with him, he couldn't help but admire Gong Shu Chao's intelligence. Are you finally here? You made me wait for so long. Dustless furrowed his brows as his gaze swept over to the source of the voice. What entered his vision was Xing Hun, who was standing with his hands clasped behind his back. Don't speak in such a tone. I'm afraid others will misunderstand. Dustless shook his finger with an expression that said, I'm not familiar with you. Misunderstand? What misunderstand? Xing Hun didn't understand what Dustless was talking about and looked at him in confusion. I'm afraid others will say that my sexual orientation is abnormal. With that, Dustless left with young Sea Ming, ignoring Xing Hun's pale face. Dustless thought that young Sea Ming would bring him directly to see Dong Huang Tai, but instead, she brought him to a room with a nice environment. It's getting late. I'll bring you to see His Excellency Dong Huang tomorrow. Tonight, you can rest here. I'll be staying next door. Just look for me if you need anything. As soon as she finished speaking, young Sea Ming was about to leave. Gosh, that Dong Huang Tai is really good at putting on airs. Seeing young Sea Ming leaving and heading next door, Dustless mumbled to himself. Then he closed the door decisively and left a shadow clone to replace him. As for his real body, he went to look for Great Sea Ming. Anyway, Dustless had left the Flying Thunder God Warlock on Great Sea Ming a long time ago. Although the elusive mirage was huge, finding Great Sea Ming was just a matter of thought. In the misty room, a few naked figures could be vaguely seen. They were hidden in the mist, and their snow-white bodies made one's imagination run wild. I can't figure out what they're planning. Why would the school of Yin Yang ally with the Confucian school? Now, young Sea Ming is going to marry Dustless. What is Dong Huang Tai trying to do? Great Sea Ming soaked in the water lazily. His rosy cheeks were filled with confusion. He was a little jealous of young Sea Ming. Although he had become Dustless's woman, they were not officially married. Now that young Sea Ming had gotten to him first, Great Sea Ming was jealous. I don't know. Moon God also shook her head. What was Dong Huang Tai thinking? She could not figure it out no matter how hard she tried. Beside Moon God was a pretty girl. She was swimming around in the hot spring. Sometimes, she would let out a pleasant laugh. She was Moon Goddess. Plop. At this moment, the peaceful atmosphere was suddenly broken. A black figure suddenly flew out of the void and fell into the hot spring under the shocked gazes of Moon Goddess, Great Sea Ming, and Moon Goddess. Gosh, people from the school of Yin Yang are really extravagant to be able to soak in a hot spring on the ship. Wu Chen, who had fallen into the water, finally managed to climb out of the water to catch his breath. He looked up and saw 3 naked bodies. Yueshan, Great Sea Ming, and Yu Er were all staring at him without moving. If I said I didn't do it on purpose, you would believe me, right? Chapter 1872. Dustless was embarrassed. He did not expect Great Sea Ming to be taking a bath and to be soaking in the hot spring with Yueshan and Yu Er. Who would have thought that there would be a hot spring above the elusive mirage? It was too extravagant in terms of technology in this era. If you continue to stare at us, I might really be bothered. Yueshan's tone was calm as she tried her best to maintain her composure. However, if one were to look closely, they would notice that Yueshan's mouth was twitching. This fella. Such a crooked trick. There's nothing special about it. Yueshan used to admire Dustless when she knew that Dustless could use such a heaven-defying trick like the Flying Thunder God. However, she was filled with disdain now. Such a vulgar move was simply rotten to the core. Cough cough. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Dustless smiled awkwardly and retracted his gaze awkwardly. With his back facing the 3 ladies, he said, "The 3 of you should go and put on your clothes. It won't be good if someone sees you." Wu Chen was actually feeling frustrated as well. He had never thought that Great Sea Ming would be bathing at this moment and that he would be implicated as an innocent person. "Brother Dustless." A crisp voice entered his ears. Dustless was stunned for a moment before he turned around to look. "You are?" With a bright smile, Dustless rubbed the little girl's head and asked with concern, "How's life above the elusive mirage? Are you bored?" "Sister Yueshan is very nice to me." Sister Great Seeming is the same. They all play with me. Yu blinked her eyes and smiled contentedly. As Dustless had informed Yueshan beforehand, Yueshan and the rest were even more protective of you. Why? Do you think that we'll torture Qianlong? Great Seeming and Yueshan had put on their clothes again. The one who spoke was Great Seeming. The two of them only put on a layer of clothes to prevent themselves from being exposed. However, this gauze that was as thin as a cicada's wing was nothing to Dustless. It couldn't be helped. Dustless had all kinds of eye techniques, so his eyesight was ridiculously good. Even the filthy deep sea was clear to him at a glance. What's more, it was just a thin layer of muslin. Of course I trust the two of you. Dustless looked at Moon God and Great Seeming's eyes and tried his best not to look at their naked bodies. You two know Yu's uniqueness better than I do. Some necessary precautions are unavoidable. So in your heart, we're not even as important as a little girl. A slightly jealous voice suddenly sounded. If it was Great Seeming who said this, Dustless would not be an exception. After all, he had already done that kind of thing with Great Seeming. But if it was the Moon God, this guy, did he take the wrong medicine? Dustless stared at the Moon God in astonishment. He thought she was just joking because she was bored. Moon God, what's the result of the investigation I asked you to do? Dustless asked bluntly. Does Yun Zhongjuan have the ability to refine the elixir of immortality? Dustless did not dawdle. After asking the question, he had to go back and rest. It would be bad if young Seeming noticed something wrong. This? Moon God hesitated for a moment and then said, based on the current situation, it should be possible. Otherwise, Ying Zhang would not spend so much time on Yun Zhongjuan. You're right. Dustless nodded thoughtfully. Ying Zhang was a very smart emperor. He would never do something that was strenuous and unrewarding. He was willing to spend a lot of resources on Yun Zhongjuan because he had nothing better to do. Right. Dustless's eyes lit up. A peerless beauty suddenly appeared in his mind. Her graceful body circled around Dustless's mind. He could not get rid of her figure forever. It was as if she had left a mark on his soul. Brother Dustless, can you help me save my mother? Before Dustless could speak, Yuer's pitiful voice came first. You mean Concubine Yen? The figure in Dustless's mind was, in fact, Concubine Yen. Concubine Yen? A strange ripple flashed across the Moon God's expressionless face. Her originally gentle face suddenly turned cloudy and cold. Dustless could not help but raise his eyebrows. He thought to himself, I've heard that the Moon God and Concubine Yen are not on good terms. There is a great grudge between them. Now it seems to be true. Actually, I also want to ask why Concubine Yen was suddenly released. If I remember correctly, she should have been locked up by Donghuang Tai. Staring at the Moon God and Great Seeming, Dustless was filled with questions. We don't know the details either. The Moon God and Great Seeming looked at each other and shook their heads. Although one of them was a guardian of the school of Yinyang, and the other was one of the 5 great elders of the school of Yinyang, they were not omnipotent. At least one thing is certain. Donghuang Tai and Concubine Yen must have some kind of secret agreement. The Moon God, who was of a higher status than Great Seeming, obviously knew more. She continued, ever since Xinghun was severely injured by you, Donghuang Tai released Concubine Yen. I think he is targeting you. But it's really ironic. At the end, the Moon God's lips curled into a self-mocking smile. She secretly sighed that the school of Yinyang might really be on the decline. This Zi Chen in front of her was actually Dustless in disguise. Dustless appeared in the school of Yinyang's base. Ironically, no one noticed anything wrong with him. That's because my disguise technique is profound, Great Seeming interrupted with a smile. His tone was filled with pride and arrogance. She was in charge of Dustless's disguise. Brother Dustless, you will help Yuer save my mother, right? Yuer pulled Dustless's right hand and rubbed it against her face. She looked at him with puppy eyes. You are so adorable. After sighing, Dustless hesitated for a moment before he agreed. I was the one who sent you to the school of Yinyang. You have been living alone in the Mirage Tower. It must have been hard on you. I will help you save your mother this time. Consider it my compensation to you. Chapter 1873. Dustless did not mind saving concubine Yen since she would not be a hindrance to him. Do you have any other questions? If not, I will leave now. Young Master Ming is staying next door to me. If she finds out anything, it will be troublesome. Dustless frowned and was about to leave. You can just kill her. Great Sea Ming added fuel to the fire and said, Are you going to return her to you? Don't tell me you are not her match. Or. At this point, Great Sea Ming walked around Wu Chen with a faint smile on his face. When he saw the latter's awkward expression, he said slowly, Could it be that you really have feelings for young Sea Ming? Don't be fooled by her beauty. She has thorns. Eastern Emperor Tai must have a motive for ordering the marriage between young Master Ming and the Confucian school. Moon Goddess agreed softly and said worriedly, Killing her is the best choice. Kill young Master Ming? Dustless showed a serious expression on his face, but he was very relaxed in his heart. It was not hard to tell that he was just brushing off Moon Goddess and Great Sea Ming. No matter what, I am a top-notch expert who has traversed countless dimensions. If I can't even take down young Master Ming, it will be a joke. After nagging for a while, Dustless disappeared from Moon Goddess and Great Sea Ming's eyes. Damn it. Which room is it? In the dead silent corridor, Dustless looked at the rows of rooms in front of him in frustration. He looked around and did not move for a long time. Dustless tragically realized that all the rooms were exactly the same. For a moment, he forgot where he was staying. It should be this room. Dustless looked at the cut on the ground and muttered. It was made by kunai and was used to locate the spatial coordinates. Creak. The door was pushed open gently, but the scene that greeted him almost blinded Dustless. Are you changing your clothes? Young Master Sea Ming's naked body entered his eyes. Her curvaceous body was in full view. She had the golden ratio without any excess fat. Although young Master Sea Ming had a cold personality, her body could make one's blood boil. In fact, in some areas, she was even better than Great Sea Ming, who had already had sex with Dustless. Dustless's mind was in a trance as he looked at her pure and seductive body. Have you seen enough? The same cold voice came out from young Master Ming's throat. However, it was different from before, as it was slightly trembling. It was not hard to see that young Master Ming's heart was extremely complicated. Ahem, I'm sorry. Dustless reluctantly lowered his head, looked at the floor and said, I want to go to the toilet. It's almost the same here. I can't find a place, so I came to trouble you. Who knew? I'm really sorry. Dustless apologized again, and found an extremely awkward excuse to deal with it. But Xiaofan Ming wasn't sure if she would believe it or not. Just go out and turn left for 50 steps. After saying this calmly, Xiaofan Ming's voice stopped again. Dustless turned his head slightly and stole a glance at Xiaofan Ming. She had already changed into a white coat, which was almost the same as what Yueshan and Great Sea Ming had said. In Dustless's eyes, it was as if it was transparent. Strange. After walking out of young Master Ming's bedroom, Dustless said without hesitation, the kunai was clearly placed at the door. Why did it enter young Master Ming's room? Did I remember wrongly? His mind was like paste, overturning the sky and the earth. It was a mess. Forget it, I'll go to sleep. Suddenly, Dustless stopped walking. He turned around and walked towards his room, but Xiaofan Ming blocked his way. You're lying to me. After observing Dustless for a while, Xiaofan Ming said slowly, Didn't you notice the difference in the room just now? Dustless fell silent. He really didn't notice anything. All the rooms in the Mirage were the same. What difference could there be? The room you saw me changing my clothes in was actually your own room. Xiaofan Ming said something shocking, and her eyes were filled with shrewdness. No wonder. I told you Dustless couldn't have placed the kunai in the wrong place. Dustless's confusion was suddenly solved. When he opened his mouth to argue, Xiaofan Ming's beautiful voice made Dustless pause. He had to swallow the words that were about to come out of his mouth. You must have sneaked out just now, right? And I also smelled a unique scent from your body. It's very similar to the faint scent of Yueshan, and... Xiaofan Ming squinted her eyes and continued, There are still water stains on your clothes that haven't been dried yet. There's no water around. If it's tea, it must have the scent of tea. Unfortunately, it's not. Don't you want to explain it to me? This woman who always looks like she doesn't know anything about the world is actually very shrewd. It's the complete opposite of her naive face. Dustless was secretly shocked. He fell into the water just now, and when he came back, his body was still wet. He had to use chakra to evaporate a large amount of water stains, but his clothes were still wet. As for the scent of Yueshan, Dustless didn't know. Maybe it was because he accidentally touched it when he fell into the water just now. If you don't give me a reasonable explanation. Explanation? What explanation? Dustless had an idea. He immediately started to pester endlessly. He said angrily, "You people from the school of Yin Yang really don't know etiquette. That woman called Yueshan actually took me away to investigate. How dare you? And I was afraid that you would be worried, so I purposely hid that I was sleeping. Now you're looking at me with such a betraying gaze. Xiaosi Ming, you're so unreasonable. I'm so sad. I'll just divorce you." Chapter 1874. Hearing this, Xiaosi Ming was stunned for a long time. After staring at Dustless for a while, she suddenly felt a breath of cold air. Only then did Xiaosi Ming come back to her senses. Taking a closer look, it was Wu Chen with a grave and stern face. This aggrieved expression seemed like he had suffered a great humiliation. You want to divorce me?" Her eyes widened a few times. Even with Xiaosi Ming's indifferent personality, she still trembled as she spoke. She was truly shocked by Dustless's, "I want to divorce you." "You're still so arrogant after making a mistake?" Xiaosi Ming's eyes were fixed on Dustless's face. Her worldview was refreshed. This bastard clearly made a mistake, but he still looked like he was framing her. Shameless to the extreme. Huff, huff, huff. Young Master Ming's career trembled in anger. Her hair-raising curves dazzled Wu Chen's eyes, and he almost couldn't help drooling. When Xiaosi Ming was still like a virgin, there was a kind of tranquil beauty. Even though she was angry now, there was a different kind of charm. "You're twisting words." Xiaosi Ming gritted her teeth and coldly retorted Dustless. "You were the one who made a mistake first, and you still dare to say that you want to divorce me?" "Why wouldn't I dare?" Dustless looked back at Xiaosi Ming and said loudly, "I'm going to divorce you this time. Hurry up and bring me a pen and paper. I'm going to break up with you right now." "You?" Hearing this, Xiaosi Ming's pretty face darkened. Anger was rolling in the depths of her eyes. Xiaosi Ming had always been loyal to Dong Huang Tai's orders. Even if he asked her to die, she would do it without hesitation. Since Dong Huang Tai ordered her to marry Dustless, then Xiaosi Ming would definitely not refuse. "You want to divorce me? Not a chance." Xiaosi Ming pouted her thin lips and glanced at Dustless before leaving. "After I ask the moon god about the details, I'll come back to deal with you. If you're lying, humph, I'll make you regret it." As soon as she finished speaking, young Arbiter Ming turned into a breeze and left. What a naive fool. The moon goddess is one of my people. Do you even need to think about what will happen to her? You will definitely lose everything. Dustless, who was extremely bored, went back to his room to sleep as he watched her leave in a huff. Needless to say, the moon god must be on Dustless's side. Naturally, she would agree to Dustless's statement that young Arbiter Ming was destined to fail. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was already late at night. After working hard for half the night, Dustless also felt a burst of bone-deep fatigue. His head was dizzy, and just as he fell on the bed, he fell into a deep sleep. About 4 to 6 hours later, Dustless subconsciously opened his eyes when he felt a faint movement in his body. The lights in the room were turned on again. The strangest thing was that young Master Ming was sitting beside Dustless, staring at the confused Dustless without blinking. You're not going to kill me, are you?" After being stunned for a few seconds, Dustless rubbed his eyes and asked, "If that's the case, I advise you to stop. You should know the difference in strength between you and me." "Sorry, I was too reckless before." With an apologetic look on her beautiful face, young Master Ming said in a low voice, "I just heard the moon goddess say that she did capture you for interrogation." "I'm sorry, Zichen." Dustless's lips curled into a fleeting smile. He sighed in his heart, "Just as I predicted, this crisis is finally resolved." "All right, it's fine. You can go back now." My head hurts. I'm going to sleep. After apologizing, Dustless didn't want to continue pestering her. He was in the wrong, and young Master Ming wasn't in the wrong. He should forgive and forget. You won't divorce me, right? Clenching the corner of her shirt, Xiaofan Ming asked nervously. I have apologized, and you have forgiven me. Hearing this, for some reason, Dustless's sleepiness disappeared without a trace. Seeing young Master Ming's tense face, Dustless felt a stabbing pain in his heart. Was Dong Huang Taiyi's order that important to her? Dustless could tell that young Master Ming was so nervous because she was worried that he would divorce her. It wasn't that young Master Ming liked him. She was just worried that she couldn't complete the mission given by Dong Huang Taiyi. For the school of Yin Yang, Dong Huang Taiyi was everything. But the cruel thing was that young Master Ming was just an insignificant chess piece in Dong Huang Taiyi's eyes. From the marriage between young Master Ming and the Confucian school, it could be seen that young Master Ming could be abandoned at any time. I'm fine, young Master Ming. Let's get along well in the future. You can go back first. I just have a headache. I'll be fine after some rest. Shaking his head, Dustless was about to lie down again when he noticed that his pillow was taken away. Will this make you feel better? The young Master Ming put Wu Chen's head on her legs. The soft feeling was very comfortable. Wu Chen could even smell the orchid fragrance of the young Master Ming's body. She was also very considerate as she massaged Wu Chen's temples. Young Master Ming, there's no need for that. I've already forgiven you. I said that I would divorce you in a moment of anger. I'll take it back now. Dustless suddenly felt a little embarrassed about the hard-earned pillow. After all, he was the one who shamelessly asked for it. I was too reckless tonight. Young Master Ming said stubbornly. Sleep well. This is my responsibility. I'm the one who caused your headache, so I'll take care of it. What a pity. Dustless sighed in his heart. He was already planning to kill Dong Huang Taiyi, that crazy brainwashing demon. Chapter 1875. Peacefully lying on Xiaofan Ming's knees, Wu Chen curved up his mouth corners in a pleasant smile, while humming a faintly discernible song. He seemed to be enjoying himself quite a bit. It was a great gift for Dustless that Xiaofan Ming was willing to lower herself to be his pillow. Now that he was using her slender fingers to massage his temples, Dustless would never have dared to imagine such luxurious enjoyment. How do you feel? After a few minutes, Xiaofan Ming suddenly asked. Very good. People from the school of Yin Yang are second to none in everything they do. No one can compare to them. Dustless, who was lying on Xiaofan Ming's legs, opened his eyes. A serious face also appeared in his eyes. Xiaofan Ming gave off a very different feeling when she was close to him. Especially when she was so tactful, Dustless was a little dazed. Xiaofan Ming, do you know a man called Yuziki? After a moment of silence, Dustless suddenly changed the topic and said, I heard that he was captured by Yun Zhongjuan. Can you help me get him out? Yuziki? Is he your friend? Xiaofan Ming lowered her head and looked at Dustless's satisfied smile. She said meaningfully, since he was captured by Yun Zhongjuan, it means that your friend is somewhat special. As one of the 5 great elders of the school of Yin Yang, Xiaofan Ming naturally knew what kind of person Yun Zhongjuan was. Dustless saw the intelligent expression on Xiaofan Ming's face with his clear eyes. He also knew that it was impossible to continue hiding some things. It was completely unnecessary. Just like what Xiaofan Ming said, if he was an ordinary person, Yun Zhongjuan would not have captured him. He's from Shu Mountain. He's the brother of a friend of mine. After thinking for a while, Dustless continued, if you're willing to help me find him, I'll owe you a favor this time. People from Shu Mountain? Hearing this, Xiaofan Ming hesitated for a moment before replying without hesitation. I heard from Lord Xinghun that people from Shu Mountain have appeared in Shanghai recently. They are all traders of the empire and are no different from the Mo family. I really didn't expect you to be related to them. Hee hee. Dustless laughed embarrassedly and shrugged. If you want to capture me, I have nothing to say. But I won't sit still and wait for death. Loquacious. I knew you would say that. Young Master Ming rolled her eyes at Dustless and said, I can try, but I can only do my best. If Yun Zhongjuan doesn't want to hand him over, I can't do anything about it. After all, the Mirage was Yun Zhongjuan's territory, and he was the only ship owner here. Not going to hand him over? Hearing this, Dustless sneered in his heart. If he didn't want to hand him over, it meant that he was choosing to fight head-on. The biggest difference between people in this world was that some people were tactful and knew how to go with the flow. This was the golden rule of survival. However, some people chose to go against the current. They wanted to challenge the monstrous waves with the body of an ant. If this wasn't courting death, then what was? There's one more person. A graceful woman in palace attire suddenly appeared in his mind. This person was Yu's birth mother, concubine Yen. Let's take it slow. After thinking for a while, Dustless could only give up the idea of saving her for the time being. The huge mirage hid countless dark rooms. It was easier said than done to find a person. Moreover, he didn't know what concubine Yan's attitude towards him was. My head is much better now. You should go back and rest, young Master Ming. Pushing away young Master Ming's fingers, Dustless moved away from her knees and said with a smile, "The task of helping me get Yuziki back is yours, so you should go back and rest as well." You're pushing me away again. It seems that you haven't forgiven me yet. Young Master Ming pouted and was dissatisfied again. Hearing this, Dustless curled his lips helplessly and couldn't help but mutter, "You're so hard to please." Hee. The corners of Dustless's mouth curled up slightly. He suddenly laughed, leaned close to young Master Ming's ear, and blew a breath of hot air. "It seems that you want to stay here tonight. However, there's only one bed in this room. Do you plan to sleep with me? Something out of the ordinary? Why can't I?" Staring at Dustless's face, young Master Ming asked as if nothing had happened. Although her face was already as red as an apple, and her eyes were filled with shyness, young Master Ming still gritted her teeth and persisted with great courage. "Anyway, this day will come sooner or later." Young Master Ming comforted herself in her heart, and it was quite effective. Her abnormal breathing soon calmed down, and her beautiful eyes looked at Dustless as calm as water. Then, under the latter's surprised gaze, she gracefully crawled into Dustless's bed. That. I was just saying. You don't have to take it seriously." Dustless didn't expect young Master Ming to be so obedient. He was just trying to provoke her, and his intention was to drive her away. Who knew that the people from the school of Yinyang were indeed different? Not only were Yueshan and Great Master Ming hard to understand, even the seemingly innocent young Master Ming would sometimes do something shocking. For example, right now, young Master Ming wasn't deterred. Instead, her sudden action stunned Dustless, and he suddenly felt a little embarrassed. "Are you being shy?" Seeing Dustless's uncertain expression, young Master Ming's tone became a little strange, and she said sarcastically, "It's just sleeping. Do you have to be so concerned? Moreover, this day will come sooner or later. Don't forget that you and I are going to get married in a few days." This guy. Hearing this, Dustless frowned. If it was in the past, young Master Ming would definitely understand what it meant to be a man with iron blood. But now, the situation was different. Since Great Master Ming helped Dustless to disguise himself, Dustless's appearance was a disguise. His current identity was still Zi Chen, and it wouldn't make sense for him to do it with her. Chapter 1876. Hee. But Dustless's eyes were glowing as he stared at young Master Ming's beautiful body. Sleeping together didn't mean they had to do anything inappropriate, they could communicate in other ways. For example, seeing young Master Ming crawl into his bed, Dustless didn't hold back and crawled in as well. If he continued to be a coward, young Master Ming would definitely look down on him and even despise him. "You don't touch my leg." Noticing Dustless's strange movements, young Master Ming snorted and complained. Her cheeks were red, and she wanted to scold Dustless. However, a special electric current flowed through her body, and she ended up moaning like a spoiled child. "Oh, sorry, my hand slipped." Dustless smirked and completely ignored young Master Ming's feelings. "That's my left leg, don't touch it." "That's my chest. Don't touch me." Dustless was originally very tired, but after young Master Ming's tantrum, he didn't feel sleepy at all. The two spent the whole night in the warm bed and talked about the future. The scene was quite harmonious. They only fell asleep at dawn, and when they woke up again, it was already afternoon. Geez, my head is even dizzier. Dustless opened his eyes in a daze. He suddenly felt that his right arm was a little numb. Just as he was about to rub it, he suddenly stopped. This guy really knows how to enjoy himself. Looking at young Master Ming, Dustless didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She was sleeping peacefully on Dustless's right arm, and there was a faint smile on her peaceful face. She looked quite satisfied. Now that he thought about it, young Master Si Ming's life was very monotonous in the past. Other than cultivating, she probably did nothing else. She was just like a machine. Now that she had Wu Chen, an experienced player, to accompany her, her life was more interesting than before. Dustless didn't do much to the Arbiter of Fate last night. They just had some fun, and it wasn't too bad. At the very least, it was much happier than when he was studying in the Confucian school. Let's sleep a little longer. Dustless pulled Xiao Ming into his embrace with his right arm. He narrowed his eyes again. His pair of small hands couldn't help but become restless again. He pinched left and right, skillfully and vigorously on Xiao Ming's body. You don't have any self-awareness at all. You actually pretended to sleep with me. I'll make you regret it. Dustless snickered in his heart, and the kung fu in his hands became even more intense. Noticing the change in young Master Ming's expression, even though she hid it very well, the corner of her mouth and eyelashes moved slightly without leaving a trace. Dustless's sharp eyes caught everything. Since young Master Si Ming liked acting, then Dustless would accompany her to the end. After all, he wasn't the one at a disadvantage. Still not up. Xing Hun looked at the servant in front of him with extreme dissatisfaction. He was secretly furious. Just now, he had sent someone to inform young Master Ming that she was going to Mulberry Sea City to carry out a mission to search for the Mo family's traitors. In the end, Xing Hun was stunned that young Master Ming was actually lazing in bed. Xing Hun wouldn't believe such a thing even if he was beaten to death. Lord Xing Hun, please calm down. Yun Zhongjuan looked at the angry Xing Hun and comforted him. Lord Xing Hun, young people are like this. Everything depends on their mood. Why bother arguing with them? You're just lowering yourself. That's reasonable. Arguing with that fellow is too much for him. Xing Hun retracted his anger and regained his calm. He said gloomily, I keep feeling that Zichen is strange. The person who brought him into the Confucian school is undoubtedly Zhang Liang. But I've investigated his background and identity. It's all a blank. It's as if he appeared out of thin air. That's right. Yun Zhongjuan stroked his beard and whispered into Xing Hun's ear. Lord Xing Hun, did you not find anything else suspicious? What else is there? Xing Hun frowned and asked doubtfully. Are you talking about Zichen's martial arts? He doesn't seem to be taught by the Confucian school. That's just one of the reasons. Yun Zhongjuan shook his head and explained. To be honest, I heard that Zichen is inextricably linked to the moon goddess and has an unusual relationship with Great Si Ming. Someone once saw Great Si Ming and Zichen having a secret rendezvous in Mulberry Sea. Moon goddess and Great Si Ming? It was as if Xing Hun's inner demon had been triggered. He immediately pricked up his ears. Tell me the details. About. Hearing this, Yun Zhongjuan told him the information he heard a few days ago in detail. His expression was indescribably strange. You're saying that Great Si Ming and Zichen are suspected of having an affair? After a while, Xing Hun, who had heard the whole story, also had a strange expression. He couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. He hurriedly asked, Are you sure about this? It's best if you have actual evidence. I don't have that. Yun Zhongjuan had a helpless expression. In fact, when his subordinates were buying medicine, they happened to see Dustless and Great Si Ming coming out of the inn. As for what happened, no one knew the details. Forget it. Even if there's no evidence, I can still take the opportunity to get rid of Great Si Ming. Also Zichen, why does he look so suspicious? When Lord Dong Huang mentioned about the marriage alliance with the Confucian school, I strongly opposed it. But, anyway, I heard that the kid is going to meet Lord Dong Huang today. I can take the opportunity to get rid of Great Si Ming and Zichen. Xing Hun's eyes flashed coldly. Ever since he used Great Si Ming as a meat shield, their relationship had almost broken down. Even though Great Si Ming still called him Lord Xing Hun, they were still not on good terms. He could take the opportunity to meet Dong Huang Taiyi to expose Dustless and Great Sea Ming and get rid of them. Chapter 1877. Originally, Xing Hun was extremely unhappy with the two of them. He had always wanted to attack them but did not have a suitable excuse. This time, Yun Zhongjuan provided a good reason. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How could Xing Hun, who had been thinking of taking revenge on Dustless and Great Sea Ming, let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? Speaking of which, I also want to see who Zi Chen of the Confucian school is. Your Excellency East Emperor actually wants to meet him personally. I have never heard of such a thing before. Yun Zhongjuan's tone was filled with anticipation. He wanted to see Dustless's face. Humph, maybe you will be disappointed after you see him. Xing Hun looked at Yun Zhongjuan with dissatisfaction. Then, he flicked his sleeves and left angrily. If possible, Xing Hun hoped to have a big fight with Dustless to defeat him and show him what a real genius was. Is this still the Lord Xing Hun who has a big belly? Seeing this, Yun Zhongjuan was truly speechless. He was quite depressed. In the past, Xing Hun wasn't so petty. He was extremely magnanimous. Now, he seemed to have changed into a different person. He was extremely petty. Especially when he mentioned Wu Chen, his face turned gloomy. On the other side, when Dustless woke up again, the sun had already set. Dustless and young Si Ming climbed out of the warm blankets. Their faces were still filled with unconcealable laziness. Especially young Si Ming, who was the strangest. Her face was flushed and her temperament was completely different from before. She even had a hint of seductiveness. The coexistence of purity and seductiveness, the fusion of ice and fire. She is like a fairy sent by the heavens. Looking at the clothed young Master Ming, Wu Chen was moved. Occasionally, he could see her white skin through her careless movements. It stretched as far as the eye could see, reaching the deepest part of her body. Dustless, who was distracted, could not help but let his imagination run wild. He could not help but let out a strange laughter. Hee. The sudden laughter made young Master Ming shiver. Her beautiful eyes blinked a few times, and when she turned around and saw Dustless giggling at her, young Master Ming angrily threw a pillow at him. Hurry up and get up. It's already evening. His Excellency Dong Huang said that he would only be free in the morning. There was a hint of regret and self-blame in young Master Ming's voice. She had lost track of time when she was with Dustless. Before she knew it, it was already evening. If it weren't for the servant's reminder, she might still be sleeping, playing. What are you afraid of? Do you think the Eastern Emperor Taiyi will punish us? I'm a disciple of the Confucian school, and the third master at that. He doesn't have the qualifications to criticize me. Dustless's seemingly lazy tone carried a trace of arrogance. It's just East Emperor Taiyi. I've already given him enough face by taking the initiative to meet him. Dustless murmured to himself, ignoring young Master Ming, whose pretty face had darkened. Shut up! Young Master Ming glared fiercely at Dustless, then looked around. After making sure that no one was around, she knelt down beside Dustless and said seriously, In the school of Yin Yang, His Excellency Dong Huang is a godlike existence. A godlike existence? That means he's not a god. But why don't I see you being so respectful when you see me, a god? Why is there such a huge difference between people? Dustless's tone carried a trace of resentment. It seemed that he was extremely unhappy with young Master Ming's attitude. Oh, you're quite arrogant, aren't you? At this moment, a cold laugh filled with hostility suddenly came from outside the door. Ka. Immediately after, the tightly shut sliding door was suddenly restrained by some kind of force and split open. A young man with an evil aura all over his body walked in. Shorty, who let you in without anyone's permission? Dustless stared at this person with a trace of annoyance in his eyes. There was also a hint of mockery and playfulness. This person was the left guardian of the school of Yin Yang, Xing Hun. Shorty? Hearing this, Xing Hun was stunned for a moment. He instinctively turned around and saw that he was alone. Where was the Shorty that Dustless had mentioned? Could it be? You bastard! A sinister look flashed across Xing Hun's eyes. He was enraged and reprimanded. The Shorty that you're talking about, don't tell me it's me? Xing Hun purposely emphasized the word protector in an attempt to make Dustless understand the difference in status between them. Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Dustless only laughed indifferently. Naturally, he could hear the underlying meaning in Xing Hun's words. He said disdainfully, "Silly boy, you didn't hear wrongly. The shorty that I'm talking about is you. How dare you?" Xing Hun was enraged. A purple air blade immediately shot out from between his hands. "Lord Xing Hun, please remember that Zichen was invited here by His Excellency the Eastern Emperor." Seeing that Xing Hun was about to take advantage of this opportunity to make things difficult for him, young Master Ming instantly transformed into a light breeze and stood in front of Dustless like a wall. Her cold and indifferent expression had returned to its usual aloof self. "Get out of my way, young Master Ming. You know my character. Anyone who stands in my way will die." Xing Hun's face was distorted as he shouted angrily, "I hate it when people call me Shorty." Even if he was really short, there was no need to say it out loud. It would hurt his pride. Shorty, Shorty, Shorty. Hearing that Xing Hun hated it when people called him Shorty, Dustless immediately went overboard and repeated the words, Shorty, like a repeater. Xing Hun finally lost his temper. He was one of the protectors of the school of Yinyang after all. Being called a shorty was a blatant slap to his face. Chapter 1878. Young Master Ming turned her head and stared at Dustless. Her beautiful eyes glowed. She couldn't help but admire Dustless's fearless spirit. He knew what Xing Hun hated the most, but he still dared to attack him. He must be tired of living to force Xing Hun to attack. "Young Master Ming, get out of my way!" Xing Hun roared furiously. Due to his extreme anger, his eyes were bloodshot. "This is impossible. Zichen is..." Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Before young Master Ming could finish her sentence, the purple air blade swept towards her from the side. Even young Master Ming was within the attack range. This brat. He's so young but his heart is so vicious. Is he planning to kill young Master Si Ming as well? Wu Chen could not help but admire Xing Hun's viciousness when he sensed the chi blade that was a few meters long sweeping towards him from the left. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. His right hand shook slightly, and a large amount of light flashed. High-density photons were compressed, and a divine sword that could cut through metal like mud appeared. Heavenly Sword of Gathering Clouds. Aiming at the fatal airblade, Dustless smirked and dashed in front of young Master Ming. "Don't embarrass yourself with such a small trick. This kind of weak airblade can only be used to slaughter pigs." Dustless sneered. He raised the Heavenly Sword of Gathering Clouds in his hand and mocked. "I know a good chef. He specializes in providing food for our Confucian school. If I recommend you to slaughter pigs for him, you will definitely be a VIP. Pig slaughtering king. Xing Hun." Hearing this, young Master Ming couldn't help but laugh. She rolled her eyes at Dustless. "Disappear." Dustless raised the Heavenly Sword of Gathering Clouds up high. He aimed at the incoming air blade and slashed it down without hesitation. Crack crack. The seemingly ferocious chi blade collapsed in an instant. The powerful force directly crushed it into pieces like a mirror. "You this bastard." Xing Hun was furious. His arm was numb from the impact, and his pale face was filled with malevolence. He clenched his fists so tightly that his 5 fingers were seeping into his palms, causing blood to drip out. Dustless actually wanted him to slaughter a pig. This was simply unforgivable. He even said something about the pig slaughtering king, Astral Soul. How preposterous. This was a chi blade used to kill people, not to slaughter pigs. "You will pay for your arrogance." Xing Hun stared eerily at Dustless. There was a hint of morbid madness in his words. His eyes were so frightening that they looked as if they were about to pop out. "If you could make me pay a heavy price, then you wouldn't need to use your mouth. Speak with your strength." Dustless hooked his finger and taunted. "Ha!" With a low growl, a thick purple chi blade appeared between Xing Hun's hands once again. This time, it was even more ferocious than before. Even young Master Ming, who was standing behind Dustless, was sweating profusely. "Lord Xing Hun wants to use." "Don't call him Lord Xing Hun. Call him Little Retard." Dustless turned his head and looked at young Master Ming sternly. He reminded her. If you call him Lord, then I, who is about to marry you, will be in trouble as well. Don't call him Lord. Call him little retard. Go to hell. The scale and momentum of the chi blade, as well as the sharpness of the chi blade, swept towards Dustless from both sides. It was as terrifying as a guillotine. If he was hit, he would definitely be chopped into pieces. Childish. Seeing this, Dustless let out a breath of cold air. Just as he was about to attack, he suddenly felt young Master Ming tugging at the corner of his clothes. Where are you feeling unwell? Dustless asked suspiciously when he saw young Master Ming's pale face. I'm fine. Be careful. Young Master Ming forced a smile. Her beautiful face squeezed out a sad but beautiful smile. Looking at Xing Hun's twisted face, her face lost all color. This sharp chi blade was not only going to kill Dustless, it was going to kill her as well. Young Master Ming's heart turned cold at the thought of it. After all, she had worked with Xing Hun for many years. This fellow did not even blink when he killed his own people. Zichen. Looking at the man in front of her, young Master Ming felt a warm current in her heart. The one who had stepped forward now was her old enemy, not Xing Hun. Lord Xing Hun, if the two of them are killed, even if His Majesty Dong Huang trusts you, your end will be very miserable. At this moment, an ethereal and magnetic voice suddenly sounded. It was as if it was filled with magic. Xing Hun's invincible attack immediately stopped. Everyone looked at the source of the voice, and two graceful figures came into view. So it's Lord Moon Goddess and Great Sea Ming. Xing Hun retracted the evil look on his face and said with a fake smile, I didn't expect Lord Moon Goddess to be so bored to come to such a place. Don't you need to help Ji Ruqian Long research the illusory sound treasure box? Lord Xing Hun, you don't have to worry about this. Moon Goddess responded to Xing Hun indifferently. Then she looked at Dustless and young Master Ming and said, His Majesty Dong Huang has been waiting for you for a long time. Is that so? Then I'll take my leave. Dustless stretched and looked at Xing Hun mockingly. Then, he left with young Master Ming. Brat, consider yourself lucky this time. If Moon Goddess had not come out to put out the fire, you would have been thrown into the sea to feed the fish. Xing Hun snorted coldly when he saw Dustless's smug face. I think Lord Xing Hun has misunderstood something. Moon Goddess glanced at the arrogant Xing Hun and a trace of contempt appeared on her pretty face. I'm not here to help Zichen and young Master Ming out of their predicament. Then who is it for? Xing Hun asked in surprise. It seemed that there was no one else other than himself. Of course it's for you, Lord Xing Hun. If I had not appeared here, you would have been cut into pieces by Dustless. Chapter 1879. You. Hearing this, Xing Hun's expression changed drastically. The anger that he had been suppressing once again swept out like a storm. Ka. Large amounts of true qi leaked out in all directions. Even the rooms on both sides had cracks visible to the naked eye. With a ka sound, they shook as if they could collapse at any time. Even you are looking down on me? You actually think that I am not his match? Xing Hun was enraged. Being looked down upon by his sworn enemy was a huge blow to his heart. Give me a reasonable explanation, Moon Goddess. Xing Hun clenched his fists tightly. If not for the fact that Dong Huang Tai was about to gather all of them, Xing Hun would not have minded staying behind to fight with Moon Goddess. Lord Xing Hun, what I said is the absolute truth. Facing Xing Hun's terrifying aura, Moon Goddess did not move. A mysterious power exploded from her body, protecting her unscathed. She was not affected by Xing Hun's aura at all. Truth. What a joke. Hearing this, Xing Hun's lips curled into a smile. He laughed disdainfully. What is truth? Seeing it with your own eyes is the truth. The victor had not been decided just now, but you said that I am not as good as Zichen. Lord Moon Goddess, are the rumors true? Are you really having an affair with Zichen? Why are you so biased towards him? You! Moon Goddess's calm face lit up. Then, she glanced at Xing Hun apprehensively. The murderous aura that had already spread out disappeared without a trace. Moon Goddess was not dustless and did not have the ability to suppress Xing Hun. If the two of them fought, one was the left guardian while the other was the right guardian. Both sides would probably be injured in the end. You have already lost to him once. After saying that, the moon god disappeared without a trace. I have already lost to him? Hearing this, Xing Hun's thoughts turned back and realized that Zi Chen was not in his mind. Nonsense, I have already lost to Dustless once. As for this Zi Chen, it was the first time I saw him at the Little Saint's Manor. Xing Hun's voice contained a great amount of power. Even though the moon deity had already disappeared, his voice still reached her ears. That's why that guy thinks you're childish. Maybe you'll become a butcher who slaughters pigs. That kind of profession really suits you. Anyway, you don't have to use your brain. The moon goddess smiled and shook her head. The so-called Zi Chen was actually dustless. However, other than the moon goddess and Great Si Ming, no one else in the school of Yin Yang knew about this. On the way, he followed young Master Ming and brought Dustless to a special room. Creak! The ancient and heavy door was gently pushed open, and a wave of aura that belonged to the wilderness greeted him. The scene that entered his eyes caused Dustless to be stunned on the spot. Above his head, the sky was dotted with starlight, shining brightly and flashing incessantly. The floor beneath his feet was the same. The dark blue floor emitted a special light that would never be extinguished. Looking at this beautiful scene, Wu Chen was stunned for a moment. Is that the Eastern Emperor Tai? Fixing his gaze on the black figure furthest away, Dustless subconsciously squinted his eyes, which were as sharp as knives. This person was dressed in a black robe and had a black mask on his face. His entire body was strange and mysterious, and his aura was extremely powerful. Even though he was just standing there calmly, the entire world seemed to be under his control. Yo! With a friendly smile, Dustless raised his hand to greet him. You? Young Master Ming's eyes widened. Dustless's attitude was extremely disrespectful to the Eastern Emperor Tai. Normally, in the school of Yin Yang, who would dare to talk nonsense with the Eastern Emperor Tai like this? You're very special. A charming voice came from under the mask of the Eastern Emperor Tai. Special. Hearing this, Dustless was intrigued. He was indeed special in all aspects. However, even so, Dustless still wanted to hear the unique views of the Eastern Emperor Tai. Although this guy liked to put on airs, it was undeniable that the Eastern Emperor Tai had the ability to put on airs, especially in the field of astrology. Before that, I have something to tell all of you. A troublemaker's voice was heard. Four figures slowly walked in from the door that Dustless and young Master Ming had just entered. Xing Hun and Yueshan were in the lead, followed by Yun Zhongjuan and Great Si Ming. This guy is really persistent. Is he here to cause trouble again? Wu Chen stared at Xing Hun's gloating face and knew that nothing good would come out of this fellow's filthy mouth. He was most likely here to find fault with them. Xing Hun. What's the matter? Dong Huang Tai's indifferent tone had a rare hint of dissatisfaction. He seemed to hate Xing Hun for interrupting his conversation with Dustless. He was so rude. Hearing the tone of the Eastern Emperor Tai, Xing Hun and Yun Zhongjuan's expressions changed unnaturally. Xing Hun was the most envious as he looked at Dustless with jealousy. What ability does this fellow have to gain the recognition of Your Excellency Dong Huang? Xing Hun was burning with jealousy. His stomach was filled with bitterness and jealousy. The Eastern Emperor Tai was a godlike existence in the Yin Yang school. Your Majesty Dong Huang, you may not know this, but a few days ago, a few of my subordinates bumped into Great Si Ming and Zichen coincidentally. The two of them were extremely close and even walked out of the same inn as if they were partners. Xing Hun looked at Great Si Ming and Dustless eerily. I suspect that the two of them are secretly plotting against the Yin Yang school. They should be arrested immediately and let me use the mind-reading technique to investigate thoroughly. Chapter 1880. Xing Hun's words were like a tornado, causing everyone to be dumbfounded. They all stared blankly at Wu Chen and Great Si Ming, especially Yun Zhongjuan, who stared at Xing Hun in disbelief. He's too rash. Xing Hun keeps saying that others are immature, but he's just so himself. Damn it, I hope he doesn't drag me into this. Yun Zhongjuan complained incessantly. He looked at Xing Hun and Dustless. He could not afford to offend these two, especially Xing Hun, who was so rash. Yun Zhongjuan felt like he was implicated. He was so unlucky. Xing Hun. Dong Huang Tai stared at Xing Hun. He was completely different from his usual calm self. Now, he was anxious and his Dao heart was in a mess. Do the two of you know your crimes? Xing Hun's eyes swept over Wu Qian and Great Si Ming, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. Lord Donghuang, I suggest that we immediately... Your suggestion? Who do you think you are? Dustless's sudden words made Xing Hun's face turn red. He shouted angrily, Zi Chen from the Confucian school, remember this. This is the Yin Yang school and I am the left guardian. You have no right to speak. Just listen to me obediently. Ayaya, this kid is so fierce. Dustless ignored Xing Hun. So what if Xing Hun was the left guardian? He was still a kid. As the saying goes, to catch a thief, take the stolen goods. You can't just rely on your side of the story. Do you have any evidence to prove that I colluded with Great Si Ming? Dustless stared at Xing Hun, who looked embarrassed, and continued to mock him. If you don't, then you're framing me. That's right. Do you have any evidence? Dong Huang Tai, Young Si Ming, Great Si Ming, Yueshan, and Yun Zhongjuan all looked at Xing Hun. Xing Hun's face twitched. Evidence? There was no evidence at all. Xing Hun never needed evidence to do anything. After capturing the enemy, he could use his mind-reading technique to look into their minds. Why would he need something as troublesome as evidence? It was completely unnecessary. Silence means there is no more? About 10 seconds later, Xing Hun stood there with an ugly expression on his face. Dustless scolded him angrily. You're so young, yet you don't learn good things. Instead, you're learning how to cheat, and steal. You deserve a beating. You bastard, watch your tone. Hearing this, Xing Hun's face turned green. He resisted the urge to vomit blood as his body trembled in anger. Dustless's words made it seem as if he was his son and deserved to be beaten. This fellow was too mean and infuriating. Besides, who said that I don't have evidence? I heard about this from Yun Zhongjuan. At this critical moment, Xing Hun glanced at Yun Zhongjuan and decisively betrayed him. That bastard Xing Hun. Yun Zhongjuan had a constipated expression on his face. He glared fiercely at Xing Hun from the corner of his eye as he cursed in his heart. This fellow is indeed the type to betray others. After getting the information from me, he immediately turned his back on me. Yun Zhongjuan. Give me an explanation. Dong Huang Tai looked at Yun Zhongjuan. The latter immediately broke out in a cold sweat. He lowered his head to look at the sinister Dong Huang Tai before subconsciously looking at Dustless. Yun Zhongjuan suddenly realized that he was being targeted by two hungry wolves. His life could be taken at any time. This was all because of Xing Hun. Phew. Yun Zhongjuan took a few deep breaths. Now that things had come to this, he could only bite the bullet and say, Lord Donghuang, I heard this from a few of my subordinates. Zichen and Great Si Ming came out from an inn and had a very intimate conversation. So what? Before Yun Zhongjuan could continue his nonsense, Great Si Ming retorted first. Yun Zhongjuan, you're deliberately targeting me with your words. Everyone knows that Lord Xing Hun and Yun Zhongjuan are very close. Are you implying that the two of you are homosexual? Upon hearing this, Xing Hun and Yun Zhongjuan both vomited blood. 100,000 alpacas' army ran through their minds. They glared at Great Si Ming furiously and shouted at the same time, Great Si Ming, don't talk nonsense. Otherwise, don't blame me for falling out with you. What did he mean by homosexual? He was actually homosexual. I didn't expect Great Si Ming to be so eloquent. If this continues, I'm afraid I don't need to interrupt. Great Si Ming alone can make Xing Hun and Yun Zhongjuan speechless. Dustless laughed in his heart. The phrase homosexual made Dustless secretly admire Great Si Ming. To tell you the truth, everyone, there's a reason why Zichen and I met at the inn. The quick-witted Great Si Ming looked at Xing Hun and Yun Zhongjuan and continued, although Zichen is a member of the Confucian school, he has a good impression of the school of Yin Yang. He met me privately because Zichen wants to join the school of Yin Yang and pledge his loyalty. Join the school of Yin Yang and pledge his loyalty. Upon hearing this, Yun Zhongjuan and Xing Hun's faces darkened. They were so angry that they laughed and cursed Great Si Ming in their hearts. If he really liked the school of Yin Yang, why would the little sage Zhuang embarrass the school of Yin Yang? This lousy excuse was too lousy. Zichen, is that so? Dong Huangtai was intrigued. He asked expectantly, "Do you really like the school of Yin Yang?" "Of course. If you don't believe me, I can bring her along." After sneaking a glance at Great Si Ming, Dustless promised Dong Huangtai, "If you don't believe me, I can marry Great Si Ming as well to show my loyalty. She can be in charge of monitoring me." "Very good." Upon hearing this, Dong Huangtai nodded and reluctantly accepted Great Si Ming's words. If Dustless hated the school of Yin Yang, he wouldn't have brought a wolf into the house and married Great Si Ming. Then, Dong Huangtai looked at Xing Hun and Yun Zhongjuan unhappily. His tone was filled with undisguised blame. "How can you be so rash? You two have embarrassed the school of Yin Yang." Chapter 1881. Upon hearing Dong Huangtai's reprimand, Yun Zhongjuan and Xing Hun felt extremely miserable, especially Yun Zhongjuan. He was clearly implicated by Xing Hun. If Xing Hun had not dragged him down with him, Yun Zhongjuan would have chosen to watch silently. The moon goddess, the great Si Ming, and the young Si Ming are all standing on Zichen's side. How can we win against them? Yun Zhongjuan looked at Xing Hun resentfully and lowered his head in anger, pushing all the blame to Xing Hun. If it wasn't for this fellow's recklessness, he wouldn't have been scolded as well. "But Lord Dong Huang," Xing Hun sorted out his thoughts and continued, "we can't possibly clear ourselves of suspicion just because of Zichen's words. This fellow is full of mysteries. Although he is a Confucian disciple, his way of doing things, the moves he uses, and his personality are completely different from a Confucian disciple. Moreover, he was secretly brought into the Confucian school by Zhang Liang and Zhang Zifang." When mentioning Zhang Liang, Xing Hun deliberately emphasized the word Zhang Liang. His eyes flickered with an inexplicable light. What an ignorant person! Without waiting for others to speak, Dustless took the lead to fire at Xing Hun. "This can only mean that Zhang Liang thinks that I have a bright future. Zhang Liang is tempted and thinks that I can bring the Confucian school to greater heights. It's such a simple matter." "Simple matter?" Yun Zhongjuan's lips trembled as he said seriously, "Sir, do you think that this is a trivial matter? However, the Yin Yang school must treat it seriously. A small hole can destroy a 1,000-mile dike. Often, a careless crack can become a fatal wound if ignored for a long time." Yun Zhongjuan is right. If you feel that you have a clear conscience and want to prove your innocence, let me use mind reading. Nonsense. However, Dustless was not to be trifled with. He directly interrupted Xing Hun's speech. "This damned bastard. I can't let him off so easily." Xing Hun's expression was firm, but his heart was like a volcano erupting. He could not remember how many times he had been interrupted by Dustless. This guy was too despicable. "Since you like to use mind reading on others so much, why don't I use it on you first?" Dustless asked with a smile. "That's only fair. You can read minds." Everyone from the school of Yin Yang was flabbergasted as they stared at Dustless. "It's different from mind reading, but the meaning is the same. I can see the other party's memories." Dustless replied frankly. Then, he looked at Xing Hun and Yun Zhongjuan and asked, "Which one of you will go first?" When they heard this, Yun Zhongjuan and Xing Hun looked at each other and took a step back in unison. Everyone had their biggest secret. If Dustless found out, what would happen? "Yun Zhongjuan, I haven't been feeling well recently. I'll let you handle this matter first." Xing Hun glanced at Yun Zhongjuan and spoke in a commanding tone. "This damned bastard." Yun Zhongjuan almost slapped him when he heard that. "You're the one who caused this trouble, and now you want me to take the blame for you? What a joke. This matter arose because of Lord Xing Hun. It has nothing to do with me." Yun Zhongjuan shook his head and rejected decisively. Xing Hun was the one who caused this trouble. Why should he take Xing Hun's place and let him see his memories? There's no harm in giving it a try. If the heavens protect you, you'll be safe. If you're lucky, you'll at most become an idiot. If you're unlucky, you'll end up dead. Dustless gave them a look that said, "Don't worry." Ha! It would have been better if Dustless hadn't said anything. Now that he said it, Xing Hun and Yun Zhongjuan cowered even more. "What if you slip up? What if the two of us become idiots? Xing Hun questioned eerily. He shook his head in his heart. If Dustless deliberately turned them into idiots, they wouldn't even have a place to cry. Enough. This matter ends here today. Dong Huangtai's sullen voice exploded in Xing Hun and Yun Zhongjuan's ears. The two of them immediately lowered their heads in shame like obedient children. Xing Hun, you've stirred up trouble for no reason. The position of the left guardian of the Yinyang family is no longer suitable for you. Dong Huangtai's sudden words made Xing Hun's head feel stuffy. Not only that, but the others were also caught off guard. Even if Xing Hun had really made a mistake, he wouldn't have been stripped of his position as guardian, let alone an ordinary quarrel. Well, Dong Huang Pavilion, Xing Hun opened his mouth, but Dong Huangtai didn't give him a chance. He cut off Xing Hun's future with one sentence. Zichen, you'll be in charge of this position in the future. Dong Huangtai's tone was faint but contained a great deal of determination. It seemed like he wasn't just saying it casually. No problem. Just leave it to me. Dustless chuckled and immediately patted his chest. Although he wasn't interested in the position of guardian, he immediately accepted it when he saw Xing Hun's black face. It wasn't a bad idea to annoy this fellow. Fortunately, you didn't get too involved. When Yun Zhongjuan saw this, he looked pitifully at the dazed Xing Hun. This fellow had dug his own grave. In the end, he was slapped a few times by Dustless and lost all his face. What was even more tragic was that even the position of the left guardian of the Yinyang family had been stripped by Dong Huangtai. The funniest thing was that the position of guardian had fallen into the hands of Xing Hun's archenemy. Cough, cough, cough. When he saw that everyone was still in a daze, Dustless deliberately coughed twice. Under everyone's puzzled gaze, he walked towards the petrified Xing Hun with his hands behind his back. Fellow, are you here to show off? Xing Hun roared in a hoarse voice as he resisted the urge to tear Dustless into pieces. I'm here to annoy you. Dustless smiled and nodded. Then he circled around Xing Hun and ordered, Xing Hun, hurry up and greet the left guardian. Chapter 1882. When he heard Dustless's words, Xing Hun could no longer maintain his composure. His face instantly twisted like an evil spirit, and his hands involuntarily emitted a purple demonic light. A divine airblade that could cut through metal like mud instantly shot out. Brat, do you know that there is a saying that goes, the higher you stand, the harder you fall? Put away that annoying smile of yours. Xing Hun gritted his teeth and roared. His hissing voice was like a venomous snake spitting out its tongue, sending chills down one's spine. The light from the airblade in his hands became increasingly intense and filled with a frightening destructive power. It was not difficult to see that if not for Dong Huangtai's presence, Xing Hun would have attacked long ago. Dustless was simply too arrogant and did not take him seriously at all. Of course I know. Dustless nodded in agreement. He looked at Xing Hun with a mocking smile. It's good that you know. Xing Hun grunted and retracted his gaze. His thoughts churned, and just as he was about to open his mouth and teach Dustless a lesson, the latter's words almost caused him to explode. Aren't you a living example, former guardian? Lord Xing Hun. The higher you stand, the harder you fall. You should have a deep understanding of this saying, right? Xing Hun's cheeky words caused his old face to turn red with anger, as if he had been roasted. Zichen, you are playing with fire. You have only won one round temporarily, and there is still a long way to go in the future. Don't be too complacent. Xing Hun warned in a low voice. Otherwise, if you lose too badly in the future, you will not be able to face anyone. You don't have to worry about that. Dustless turned a deaf ear to Xing Hun's words. They went in one ear and out the other. He was just a guardian, and he had only accepted it because he wanted to annoy Xing Hun. Otherwise, even if Dong Huangtai gave him the position of the head of the Yinyang school, Dustless would not care. Cut the crap. Hurry up and greet Lord Protector Zichen. Dustless leaned close to Xing Hun's ear and said in a voice as soft as a mosquito, now that you've been stripped of your position as a guardian, you're just an ordinary disciple of the school of Yinyang. I'm a guardian. You. Hearing this, Xing Hun was so angry that he felt dizzy and his entire body trembled. If you don't shout, I can expel you from the school of Yinyang. If you don't believe me, you can try. Dustless's expression was one of utter disdain. His words were laced with a thick threat as he taunted, "At that time you'll be a stray dog. You win." Hearing this, Xing Hun hesitated for a while before finally compromising. He bowed slightly. "Greetings to Guardian Zichen." When he said this, Xing Hun's heart was bleeding. This was his position and now it had been snatched away by his mortal enemy. Furthermore, he had to call him Lord Protector. Xing Hun was about to explode from anger. "Not bad." Dustless patted Xing Hun's head and gave a gratified smile. "You're worth teaching." "Not bad, not bad." When the other members of the school of Yin Yang saw this scene, they smiled but did not say anything. Whether it was young Master Ming, Great Master Ming, or the cold Yueshan, they were all on Dustless's side. Especially Yueshan. He and Xing Hun appeared to be on the same page but were actually at odds with each other. There had been countless open and covert conflicts between them. Now that Xing Hun had been stripped of his position as a guardian, what was he going to do in the future? The only person who felt that the situation had changed was Yun Zhongjuan. After all, he had been allies with Xing Hun previously and had discussed how to deal with Yueshan and Dustless in secret. Now, in the blink of an eye, this usually awe-inspiring guardian had been stripped of his position. "All right, all of you can leave now. I have something to say to Zichen." Dong Huang Tai ordered them to leave indifferently. His cold tone made it seem as if nothing had happened. Xing Hun felt a chill in his heart. He had sacrificed his life for the school of Yin Yang, but this fellow was so heartless in the end. Xing Hun's resentment towards Dong Huang Tai grew. Now that the biggest boss of the school of Yin Yang had spoken, Yueshan and the other members of the school of Yin Yang took their leave. Only Dustless and Dong Huang Tai were left. The atmosphere turned cold. "I observed the stars at night. Ever since you appeared, the movements of the stars have undergone a huge change." Dong Huang Tai's indifferent tone revealed a hint of shock. Small changes could be made, but the general trend could not be changed. This iron-like rule had actually changed when it came to Dustless. This was also one of the reasons why Dong Huang Tai valued Dustless and chose to form an alliance with young Master Ming and the school of Confucianism through marriage. The strangest thing was that Dong Huang Tai was shocked to discover that he had previously comprehended the news of the imminent demise of the school of Confucianism from the movements of the stars. However, the movements of the stars had changed recently, and the result almost made him vomit blood. Ever since Dustless joined the school of Confucianism, the situation had changed. The school of Confucianism would prosper, and the school of Yin Yang would decline. The school of Confucianism would be fine, but the school of Yin Yang would be in trouble. In the past, the school of Confucianism would perish, and the school of Yin Yang would prosper. However, after Dustless joined the school of Confucianism, the situation changed. Dong Huang Tai had no choice but to form an alliance with the school of Confucianism, hoping to change this sudden change. What happened next was even more shocking. Ever since he decided to form an alliance with Dustless through marriage, the movements of the stars had undergone a huge change. The school of Confucianism would prosper, and the school of Yin Yang would prosper. This was the first time Dong Huang Tai had encountered such a strange situation. From then on, he confirmed Dustless's uniqueness and indirectly tried to rope him in. As for Xing Hun, in Dong Huang Tai's eyes, he was just a pawn. What was wrong with sacrificing a little for the school of Yin Yang? Xing Hun should be happy. The world was cruel. Benefits came first. Xing Hun was used in an important position before because Dong Huang Tai thought he had a future. Now that the school of Yin Yang had a new blood, Dustless, Xing Hun's position became insignificant. Furthermore, this fellow had a grudge against Dustless. Chapter 1883. This world was a place where people chose to be chosen, abandoned, and abandoned. After the essence of any society was removed, what was left was the law of the jungle. If one's potential was not as good as others, they could only blame themselves for being useless if they were abandoned. Dong Huang Tai felt that Dustless's future was greater than Xing Hun's, so it was necessary for him to abandon Xing Hun. To make a simple analogy, between heaven and hell, everyone would undoubtedly choose the former. Although Dong Huang Tai was far-sighted, he was still a normal human. Naturally, he would choose the former, heaven. With Xing Hun, who represented hell, It was better to meet him sooner rather than later. Of course. Old man, you're smart enough to choose the school of Yin Yang so that you can continue living. Dustless laughed in his heart. Although he did not understand the profound philosophy behind astrology, there was only one thing that had never changed in these thousands of years. Absolute power rewrote the world. Even the stars that Dong Huang Tai had comprehended leaned towards Dustless, let alone humans. How could Xing Hun not be abandoned? Damn it, damn it, damn it. How am I inferior to him? On the other side, Xing Hun was furious and puzzled. It was fine that others did not think highly of him, but even Dong Huang Tai, who he respected the most, seemed to have abandoned him. As a guardian, he could not even compare to an outsider from the Confucian school. Thinking about his miserable situation, Xing Hun was furious. Xing Hun, calm down. Yun Zhongjuan looked at the gloomy Xing Hun and tried to persuade him. It was just a momentary mistake. Why take it to heart? If you're so dispirited, won't that make Zichen feel better? What did you call me? Xing Hun narrowed his eyes and cursed Yun Zhongjuan in his heart. In the past, he used to call him Lord Xing Hun. Now that Dustless had snatched the guardian position away from him, they were just two simple Xing Hun. I called you Xing Hun. Yun Zhongjuan stroked his beard proudly. His coarse old face was filled with contentment. When he saw Xing Hun's angry face, he felt extremely pleased. He thought to himself, does he really think that he's still the Lord Xing Hun of the past? What Lord Xing Hun? That was in the past. Now, Xing Hun was just an ordinary disciple of the school of Yin Yang. His status was not as respected as before. This fence-sitter. When Xing Hun saw this, he was filled with regret. If he had known earlier, he would have taught Yun Zhongjuan a harsh lesson before he was stripped of his status. Xing Hun, although you have been stripped of your identity, we still have the same goal. We both have an enemy. The moon god. No, I should say that the number of enemies has increased. There is also Zichen and Great Si Ming who is close to him. Now, even young Si Ming is one of his people. Yun Zhongjuan also stopped teasing Xing Hun. Thinking about the current situation, he was in a terrible fix. Come to think of it, the current school of Yin Yang had almost been unified by Dustless. At first glance, almost everyone was leaning towards Dustless. That's why we need to get closer. Why are we leaving? Before Yun Zhongjuan could finish speaking, a lazy voice came from behind him. Yun Zhongjuan and Xing Hun were both stunned. This mysterious voice didn't even make a sound when he walked. He was as silent as a spirit. For some reason, they thought that it was Dong Huang Tai. So it's Zichen. So it's Lord Zichen. Yun Zhongjuan smiled apologetically and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. If Dustless had wanted to kill him just now, he would have succeeded and he would have become a headless corpse. What are the two of you discussing? Dustless looked at Xing Hun and Yun Zhongjuan lazily and said meaningfully, are you discussing how to deal with me? How dare I? Lord Zichen, just tell me what you want. I will do my best. Yun Zhongjuan immediately denied and winked at Xing Hun at the same time. His meaning was obvious. Don't talk nonsense. Humph. What a villain. Seeing this, Xing Hun snorted and glared at Yun Zhongjuan angrily before he left in a huff. He wasn't as good at flattering as Yun Zhongjuan, especially when the person who flattered him was his mortal enemy. I'm just a child. Please don't take offense, Lord Zichen. Yun Zhongjuan smiled sheepishly. In the past, when Xing Hun was still a protector, he was naturally afraid of him. But now, although he was still a member of the Yin Yang school and was quite powerful, to put it bluntly, he was just an abandoned dog. I'm new and I'm short of manpower recently, so... Dustless's meaning was self-evident. The owner of the elusive mirage was Yun Zhongjuan, and he controlled all the resources on it. Short of manpower? That's easy. Just leave it to me. 50 or 100 people. The more, the better. Guardian Zichen, you don't have to be so formal. After all, we're on the same side, Yun Zhongjuan said with a flattering smile. Do you really think I don't know what you're thinking? Don't be so self-righteous, idiot. Upon hearing this, Dustless put on a kind smile on his face but sneered in his heart. He had heard Yun Zhongjuan and Xing Hun's plan clearly and hadn't missed a single word. Do you think the two of you can join forces to deal with me? Ignorant. You don't even know how to spell the word death. Go ahead and show off. Dustless was full of contempt for Yun Zhongjuan. He made up his mind that as long as this guy refined the elixir of immortality, he would send Yun Zhongjuan and Xinghun to hell. I don't need so many people. I'm only short of one person. I heard that you have a few people from Shu Mountain under you, especially Yu Ziki. He's powerful and very obedient. Let me use him. Dustless looked at Yun Zhongjuan seriously, but the latter's face was stiff and his eyes were changing unpredictably. No one knew what he was thinking. Chapter 1884. Yu Ziki. When Yun Zhongjuan heard this name, his eyelids twitched violently. If it was an ordinary person, he could still make the decision. However, Yu Ziki was not an ordinary person. He had a powerful background. This person came from Shu Mountain and was extremely hostile to the Yinyang school. Of course, Yu Ziki was not the only one. To a certain extent, the entire Shu Mountain was the enemy of the Yinyang school. Lord Zichen wants Yu Ziki? Yun Zhongjuan's cheerful smile disappeared. He sized up Dustless warily and asked, Lord Zichen, do you know who he is? He's from Shu Mountain, but... Dustless glanced at Yun Zhongjuan and asked calmly, What about the people from Shu Mountain? Am I no match for him, Yun Zhongjuan? That's not the case. Yun Zhongjuan quickly denied it. Even though he had not seen Dustless fight with his own eyes, there was no doubt about his strength. Dong Huang Tai would never find a useless idiot to be the Yinyang school's left guardian. To be honest, Shu Mountain is one of the great enemies of the Yinyang school. We can't let our guard down, Yun Zhongjuan advised. So, Lord Zichen, you should find another suitable candidate. No, no, no. Dustless shook his finger and said in an unquestionable tone, I like people who are rebellious. I'll take him. If Yun Zhongjuan refuses again. Hee. Gulp. When Yun Zhongjuan heard this strange laughter, his heart skipped a beat. Then, a sense of foreboding that went deep into his soul instantly spread throughout his body and mind. If you refuse me again, I'll have to ask Lord Donghuang to make the decision. When he mentioned Donghuang, Dustless had a gloating smile on his face. That be asterisk starred. When Yun Zhongjuan heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched violently. He gritted his teeth so hard that they almost broke. Yun Zhongjuan was not an idiot. Based on the current situation, Dong Huang Tai valued Dustless very much. He valued Dustless even more than the moon god. If he called Dong Huang Tai out for such a trivial matter, he would definitely be scolded. Dustless was Dong Huang Tai's favorite person, so the chance of him being scolded was zero. Therefore, the unlucky person was naturally Yun Zhongjuan. Lord Zichen must be joking. It would be disrespectful to disturb Lord Donghuang with such a simple question. Yun Zhongjuan looked terrified and immediately promised Dustless, I will definitely take Yu Ziki there. Even if he doesn't agree, I will tie him up and send him there. Hee, then I'll have to trouble you, Yun Zhongjuan. I still have something to do, so I'll take my leave first. Dustless patted Yun Zhongjuan's shoulder and left with a satisfied expression. Preposterous. After a while, Yun Zhongjuan saw that Dustless had completely left. He stomped his feet angrily, and his eyes were gloomy. After staying in the Yinyang school for so long, this was the first time he had been threatened. Look at the smug look on his face. On the Confucian school side, Dustless took Zhang Liang's position and became the third head of the Confucian school. On the school of Yinyang's side, he took Xinghun's position and became the left guardian. As expected, after hearing the conversation between the two, Zhang Liang's face froze. The relationship between the two of you is frightening. I have something to do at the moment, so I'll take my leave. Zhang Liang bowed slightly and left, looking very decisive. Hypocrite. Seeing Zhang Liang turn and leave, young Master Ming muttered. Young Master Ming wasn't an ordinary person. The moment Zhang Liang turned around, she saw the anger in his eyes. It was just that he didn't show it. Zhang Liang is indeed hypocritical. On one hand, he colluded with the Mo family. On the other hand, he has connections with Wei Zhuang. Recently, he even brought these two opposing forces together. Dustless nodded in agreement. Then, he held young Master Ming's waist and looked at the beautiful sunset. He said, "Let's take a walk back to the Little Saint Manor. We have nothing to do anyway." Everyone saw the situation just now. I'm afraid that Dustless has completely sided with the Yinyang school. In a certain inn, many disciples of the Mo family were gathered. Everyone secretly looked at Dustless, who was talking and laughing with young Master Ming through the unlatched window. They were all furious, feeling that they had been betrayed. That traitor! The angry Big Hammer slammed the table and shouted, "Our Mo family trusted him so much. That brat actually flirted with the Yinyang school." Big Hammer, you're mistaken about one thing. In the beginning, Dustless was neutral. He wasn't a member of the Mo family, nor was he a member of the Yinyang school. In the beginning, Wuxia even stood on our Mo family's side and saved our Mo family from danger several times. Old Man Ban sighed and continued, "In the end, it's all our fault. Our methods weren't as good as the Yinyang school. That's why Dustless sided with the Yinyang school. Maybe our alliance with Wei Zhuang's quicksand caused Dustless to part ways with us. The two sides are irreconcilable. He killed many of Quicksand's people, but we allied with Wei Zhuang. I guess that guy is bitterly disappointed." Daoji hugged his hands and sighed. No matter what, Dustless has sided with the Yinyang school. From today onwards, he's our enemy. Gao Jianli's eyes were cold and sharp. Don't jump to conclusions. The respected old man Ban immediately expressed a different opinion. He said in a deep voice, "Although Dustless has a marriage alliance with the Yinyang school, he has no intention of doing anything to our Mo family. Let's wait and see for a while. What's more, we still have a trump card." Just then, old man Ban laughed strangely. He stroked his beard and said calmly, "If the Yinyang school can rope in Dustless, we can too. Their trump card is young Master Ming, and we also have a trump card that's better than young Master Ming's." Could it be? The Mo family's eyes lit up. They said in unison, "Miss Rome?" You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.